before my story, I'll tell you who I am. So I grew up in a pro-American family. I'm 24 years old, so rather young. My father is a Marine Corps colonel, retired. My mom's an American patriot. I grew up in this family, and I had a lot of American values instilled into me at a young age. And I spent my life serving my community. I became an Eagle Scout real early. I tried to do as much as I could for my community. I spent time as a sheriff cadet sergeant with the sheriff's office where I'm from, and I tried to do as much as I could to help my community out. So naturally, I spent time in college too as a criminal justice law enforcement major. I went to a place called Lake Superior State University. It's pretty far up north, the last exit on 75 there. And what ended up happening was I went there and started speaking the truth and speaking the values of conservatism and basically just saying the truth of what I believed. And what ended up happening was that a lot of communists and Marxists on campus, they did not like that. They did not like the fact that I was up there and not kowtowing to their tyrannical ideology, and that I wasn't keeping quiet, like they would like. So it started out, for the first couple months there, I ended up having police people, they called 911 on me multiple times, just by saying things that they disagreed with. These people were so sensitive and so weak that they felt like the city police department had to be sent to me to actually deal with my comments. And these were not anything extreme. It was mainstream Trump conservative type stuff, and that went on for 2 years. I stayed at Lake State for 2 years, and all kinds of crazy things happened. I had my car windshield smashed out. I had, the police at my door every 2 weeks. I was searched repeatedly. The faculty was very relentless in their pursuit to shut me down and to kick me out. And eventually, after 2 years, in August of 19, they succeeded. Because what happened was I posted a picture of my rifle and I shared it privately with my friends. And it just so happened that a woman I had blocked, specifically blocked, went out of my way to do it because she was a nut. She took a picture of somebody else's phone and sent it to the school. And the school in turn sent it to the Sault Ste. Marie Police Department. And then they came to my dorm eventually. But I had no idea any of this was happening. It was such an offhand thing. Now, I'll tell you what I said. I took a picture of the rifle and I said, "This ought to make the snowflakes melt," and by snowflakes I mean snow. Now, to everybody out there, I mean, that pretty much, it doesn't sound too scary, does it? Just a double entendre joke about offending people and about literally melting snow up in the UP, And it turned into this big thing because I showed up on campus. Lake State has a rifle policy. You can turn it in and to the armory. So the first thing I did, I turned the weapon into the armory, and I went to my dorm and I just went to sleep. And the police were at my door within like an hour, and interrogated me. And this is a crazy thing to say, but when I asked the police officer why he thought that melting snow was a terroristic threat, he told me, he says, "Have you seen The Wizard of Oz before? Have you seen that movie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, what happens to the Wicked Witch?" And I said, "Well, she gets a bucket of water on her, she melts." And he's like, "Well, and she dies, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "That's what we're talking about." He says, what you said was basically melting people equaled killing people. That was his justification. And that is the reason why posting a picture to my private friend group was a terroristic threat. So in other words, using my Second Amendment right, using my weapon, and my rifle rather, and talking about it with my First Amendment was enough for the state of Michigan to say that was terrorism. And so what they proceeded to do after there was they left. They left me there for a day, and then they came back the next day and arrested me. So, I mean, believe this or not, they let somebody who they supposedly said was a terroristic threat, but they left me on campus for a whole day after that. It's a bizarre thing to think about, that we can have our rights so easily trampled. When I was at Lake State, there were people who came up to me privately and said, "We know who you are and we support what you say, but we can't do that publicly because we don't want to end up like you." And it's cowardly. It's really cowardly. And I think a lot of conservatives need to start standing up for what's right and supporting the people and stop sacrificing on the altar of liberalism. It's just crazy. too many times, how many times do you guys see videos out there of people just, getting, whether it's something small as getting their hat stolen, or maybe something as bad as getting beaten up? How many times do you see people just stand there and do nothing, including the victim? And they just stand there and do nothing about it. People need to start standing up for what's right. Because this kind of thing happened to me, and nobody helped me out initially. Like, I got lots of support eventually, right? And I really am grateful for that, for all of you here today, and for everybody who supported me along the way, whether they stayed or not. I appreciate every minute of it, because if it wasn't for the support from everybody else, I would be a convicted terrorist. I had to raise a lot of money to basically defend myself, and say that a post about a rifle and about offending people wasn't terrorism, from a person who I had blocked and who I wasn't even supposed to see it in the first place. And and they say that I had a false report or threat of terrorism. They're the ones who created that. They said that it was terrorism, and they spread it around. I didn't spread it anywhere. So they arrested me, and I spent 3 months in jail, 3 years in home confinement, and it's still an additional year going on now. I'm still not even free totally yet. I've been allowed now to leave my home, which is great, but even coming here is a slight risk to me, quite honestly. But I fuck them, I don't care. Really. So seriously, it's insane. You get sick of it after a while. And you get sick of doing what the cooperation, I did everything I was supposed to do. I listened to every single word the policeman said. I listened to every single word the corrections officer said. I listened to every single word that the prosecutor said. And what happened to me? I got railroaded still. So, we continue on with this. Well, when I was in jail, how was I treated, I made more friends in jail than I did at Lake State. The people in there were better people than the students at Lake State. The people at Lake State most of the people I had problems with were other criminal justice students. I had my car windshield smashed out by a criminal justice student who's now a police officer. I had all kinds of crazy things happen while I was up there, and these people were just relentless, right? So in jail, I made more friends, and I'm also a type 1 diabetic too, and so when I was in jail, I like to mention this because I think it's important, they did not know how to even treat me. They almost killed me in jail multiple times. I spent 5 days in the hole on medical disciplinary action because they couldn't control my blood sugar. They blamed me for it, despite the fact that I couldn't even regulate, I couldn't take the amount of insulin I wanted, I couldn't eat what I wanted to eat, and they blamed me for that. So they were very vindictive, even in jail. And by the time I finally got out, after my dad had to pay a $250,000 bond for a picture of a rifle, I want to mention that too. I want everybody to think about, next time you see somebody on the news with a bond amount, I want you to consider their crime and consider how much they're getting paid, because mine was $250,000 for a picture. And you see people out there, assaulting police officers or burning buildings down, and they get like, a $10,000 bond or something, And so it's kind of, this thing was very political from the beginning. The search warrant, they have to give a search warrant for my social media. They stated, "We are aware of Gerhard and his extreme political views." That's what they said. That was their reasoning for searching all my stuff. They cited nothing else other than extreme political views. So that's what we're dealing with now in this country, and it's a crazy thing. So, and I know I'm not the only one here that's had to deal with that kind of stuff either. And I'm probably the least well-known person here. We got Kyle, and we got McCloskey's here that had to deal with all these crazy lefties out there, and so mine's pretty small scale comparatively. But anyway, as I was saying about the jail, I got out and I spent 3 years under confinement. They said that I could not use technology. I couldn't use it at all, even without an internet connection. They said I couldn't have a cell phone. I had no connection. I couldn't leave the house. I had a tether ankle the whole time, despite the fact that I wasn't a flea risk, and they admitted that in court. They told me they knew I wasn't a flea risk, so they said I was a danger to society. And again, I'm skipping over a lot of details here. I can't really even begin to explain all the little mitigating factors, all the little aggravating details of all the vindictive and petty stuff that the state, the county, and the school were willing to do to me to basically shut me down. And they failed. So, they failed really bad. We basically won. It's not over yet, like I said, but here we are now. I'm speaking to all of you, and I'm trying to get the message out there. But essentially, yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. There's tons of stuff Red flag laws. I mean, if you really think about it, when I was charged, I did not believe red flag laws were actually instituted. And I'm not sure if they are now. I haven't really been paying too much attention. It's been kind of hectic running around with my own case. But, I was red flagged. That was the thing. From day one at Lake State, I was flagged as a threat. And I wasn't a threat. I was not a terror. I didn't make any terroristic threat. I was a threat to their ideology of evil. I was not some threat in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that they thought that the things I was saying was counterintuitive to their communist ideology. So, really, it's just these red flag laws have gotten out of control, and it's going to get even worse. With the Supreme Court and the the Court of Appeals making decisions nowadays where people can't even go out there and say the things that are true to them. They are being persecuted based off their Second and First Amendments, and it's very important. It makes you question why are they going after these things? And why are they going after people like me? I was a nobody up at Lake State that just so happened to be pro-gun, pro-Trump, pro-conservative, pro-everything, right? Pro-generative society. And they were pushing a very degenerative kind of notion on me the whole time. And what I think if anybody's going to learn anything from this is that I didn't quit. That's the reason I'm here, is I didn't quit. A lot of people do. You can't quit. You can't kowtow to the mob because it'll just make it even worse. You can't do that. And people do it too often, and it's almost always the right that does it. The left never does it because they never have to. The right is always on the receiving end of this stuff. So it's next time you see this, you cannot bow down to them. They will only exploit you. They will only make it worse and last longer. And really, it seems like justice is almost being evaded at this point. Where I stand now, after being locked up for 3 years and 4 years, whatever it is, nothing's happening really. I would love for things to be set right, but it seems like justice is being evaded with this whole thing right now. Yeah, exactly. Justice never. And it starts with the education too. Again, but my whole problem started with the college and everything like that. So we got to get out there and we got to educate our kids correctly instead of letting these crazy communists and with these Kool-Aid in their hair teach our kids about all this crazy stuff out there. I don't even need to tell you what it's about because you all know. You all know what this is about. It's really scary for the future of America right now. So, now is time to act. When's the best time to act? When you're losing your freedom, is it before you lose it or is it after you lose it? When you lose your freedoms and you're over the hill, it's too late. It's too late to react because they already got all the guns, they've got all your rights, and they've passed all the legislation in order to do it legally, and it's too late. So the best time to act is now, and it's getting pretty close to being too late, honestly. They're doing a lot of stuff, even in the last few years. It was a culture shock coming back out into the community. I was gone for 3 years, and when things happen gradually, it's not so obvious. But when you see things from a very shocking point of view, like I did, where I was arrested in 2019 and I was released in 2022, late 2022. It was really crazy to see the kind of stuff that was going on. And I missed all Kyle's stuff. I missed all the McCloskey stuff. I missed all this craziness, these riots and these savages in the streets, burning cities down. When's it gonna stop? It makes my thing seem small to me that I got in trouble for making a post about a rifle. You got people out there doing serious stuff, and our rights are threatened. So, I'm not really even sure what else to talk about. It's just everybody knows what must be done, but most people are afraid to do it. Most people are just too afraid. And we can't be afraid anymore. We just stand up for what's right. So I think I might leave it there, honestly. So yeah, thank you.